Welcome to Resume Storyteller with Virginia Franco, bringing you interviews with industry experts and regular folks who tested the job search waters and succeeded, and strategies to tell your story and land you job interviews in 60 days, guaranteed. Here's your host, Virginia Franco.
Hi, folks. I am so excited to welcome my next guest. I have with me brand strategist Kevin D. Turner, a managing partner at TNT Brand Strategist. Kevin creates go-to-market strategies, develops sales pipelines, ensures an exceptional customer experience, and coaches his clients in building and promoting their brand and their organizational and personal brand with an emphasis on social media marketing. He also provides marketing, business, content, brand strategy, and marketing consulting together with a little bit of everything in terms of coaching, career interviewing, LinkedIn, and resume writing. His past tenures include leadership roles at Sony, Stone VC, Thomas Nelson, American Teachers, and the American Heart Association. He's also a founding member of SMU's Digital Accelerator Board and a board member for the university's Big Data Advisory. So, Kevin, thank you so much. Welcome.
Virginia Franco, thank you very much. It's a great honor to be on your podcast. I'm always in awe of the things that you put out there. So I appreciate being here.
Same. I love, and that's how we became known to each other, just from reading each other's content on LinkedIn. So you heard me do the brief introduction, but I would love to hear in your own words exactly what you do for clients, how you help.
Absolutely. And I always look at myself as a personal and organizational brand strategist. Kind of part marketer, writer, technologist, and coach. Really there because I'm passionate about helping people, individuals, organizations kind of define, refine, and boost their reputations, opportunities, and knowledge leadership. I focus on web content, social media in the sense of LinkedIn and Twitter, and then marketing documents, resumes, bios, cover letters. That's really what I do in the sense of helping my customers be better at what they do.
So anything that gets in front of people's eyes, you help to improve.
Absolutely.
Okay. So how did you find yourself in this role? I mean, I mentioned you've had so many different leadership tenures. How did you fall into this?
Well, and again, it's marketing and branding has really always been my passion. Ever since kind of starting with Sony Corporation and the marketing department in Japan, to launching my own companies where you do your own marketing, to going into some very large organizations and running their marketing programs. And to me, it was always a big piece of what made me happy. And I always think if you do find that passion, right, you'll do better at whatever you do. And so that's always been my passion, will continue. And it's really why I've focused on doing this.
I love that. So you see clients, they're job seekers. I'm sure some are not. Some are looking to elevate their brand for other reasons. But since most of my listeners tend to be job searchers or job seekers, I should say, I would love to hear from you. What are a couple of the challenges that you see facing those that are looking to make a career change today? As I'm sure it's evolved.
Oh, absolutely. And that's probably the biggest piece of it is so much has changed over the last few years, even over the last few months. And I think it's going to change even more aggressively going forward. I think the thing that most job seekers, and I like to call them career landers, right?
That's what I like that. I'm going to borrow that.
Absolutely. It's yours. Most of them, I think, are truly surprised, really about, and I call it the internet application trap, right?
Yeah.
It's we've made it far too easy to apply to a job, right? And people are applying to hundreds of them a week, and it's basically resulting in applications being flooded. The only way to process that is to put technology, artificial intelligence in charge to filter out everything to get to the closest matches. And they say right now at let's say a director level position within the United States, when a job is posted, within 2 to 3 days, it'll have a lot of applications, but it'll have 265 on average that are qualified. They could do the job the next day if you gave it to them. Well, you can't put 265 resumes on somebody's desk, right? You got to filter down. The most a human can handle is 5. And so that becomes the task of the applicant tracking system. And I think that's one of those things that people don't realize, that if they just keep throwing resumes at an internet process, they're not going to get to where they want to be. It's a less than 1% response rate right now. And it's a lot of work for very little payback. So I think that's the first thing that they're always amazed at. And then,
and as early, sorry for interrupting. I remember even 8-9 years ago, the return was about 5%. So now it's down to 1.
Yeah, or less than 1, they say, which is quite scary to think about. It's 100 apps, and maybe you get 1 invitation.
Maybe for 1. Yeah.
And to me, that's not a great use of your time. Pardon me.
Poor ROI. Yeah.
Yeah. The second challenge, I think, is just the speed of skills changing in the workforce. What is required, and keeping up with that. There's a report that's just come out. Hopefully, I'll be able to share this in the next couple of days. That's saying that on average, middle management by 2020 will require over 140 additional hours of education to do their job.
Wow.
That's a lot.
Is that mostly technology training?
Yeah. Technology is changing a lot, but it's not just the technology that's changing. And to keep up with those skills is something I find most people aren't doing, or sometimes they're not aware that they have the skills that are in demand. And so they're not presenting themselves right. And there's a lot of different opportunities and ways to acquire those skills these days. And some of them are really easy. If you've got a premium account on LinkedIn, jump into Lydia, right? They're learning
That's
area.
Right. It's free.
Take 10, 12 hours for free. And, be able to add that into your skill set. And people aren't doing it. And I think that's one of the challenges that's out there now.
Yeah, the need to close that gap. No, that makes a lot of sense.
Definitely.
Is there anything else that you find that clients are surprised by aside from those 2 challenges? I mean, I agree with you. Technology has changed everything, and jobs are evolving so rapidly that it's hard to keep up.
I think a lot of them are surprised that what, they used to have happen was they kind of got pulled along by their networks, right? And into the next opportunity, invited in, shall we say. And the resume was almost an afterthought, right? They basically said, hey, you got the opportunity. If by chance, by tomorrow morning, if you could have a resume for HR, put in the file.
Right. Mm-hmm.
A lot of people, that was their career transition. And even though that still happens, and networking is an incredible way to get an opportunity, it still has to go back through this process. And the technology now is rating people, and we're losing some talent. I actually did a transition in the last 6 months on 2 CHROs, one a Fortune 15 company, one a Fortune 50 company. And they understood why the applicant tracking system was doing what it does, because you can't, again, drop 265 resumes on somebody's desk. Got to get it down to 5, right?
Right.
They understood that. But what they were wondering about is they were losing really good talent that had met with individuals in the company and had been referred forward. And they couldn't figure out what it was. And what happens, if you think about it, you meet with a decision maker, right? And they say, hey, Virginia, you're perfect for this. You're absolutely perfect for this. They're going to ask you to do one of 3 things, right? Do you have your resume with you? And I know you'd have it, right? Print it and you'd hand it to them.
Mm-hmm.
And they go, great, thank you. I'll get this down to HR. They put it in inner envelope mail, right? Takes 3 or 4 days. It goes down there. It's got a sticky note on it. Somebody throws the sticky note off, scans it in. You're now into the applicant tracking system and you're being paid. Or they'll say, email it to me, right? Or they'll say, apply online. And that's what is the kind of new twist that they're noticing, is that the talent is being lost because although they met with somebody, right, and they got the resume processed, either by dropping it off in paper, emailing or applying,
right.
That was processed. But what happened is the applicant tracking system said, not qualified for the position. It did not notify HR. HR didn't go back and notify the decision maker. HR sent the decision maker 5 people who are great matches, right? And they moved forward. The decision maker figured Virginia wasn't interested, right? HR figured Virginia must not have been interested, and the process moves forward. And they realized they were losing talent through that. And then when you challenge them and say, well, what would you do differently? And they're like, you can't, because we've made it so easy to apply that we flooded the system. LinkedIn, I guess it was 2 years ago, bragged when they came out with Easy Apply, it may have been 3 years ago, that they posted a director level position for a Fortune 100 company. And within a week, it had 50,000 applications.
Yeah.
What does a company do with 50,000 applications? They can only hire one.
The process isn't built to manage that. It's sort of the technology's outpaced what people can do.
It's just we've made it too easy to apply and we've flooded the system. And so you have to kind of think about the system differently now.
Yeah. The other thing that I see, I'm interested to hear your viewpoint, in addition to, you're right, it used to be an afterthought. You met with a person and the getting the resume was just a tick off the box for HR. I feel like even though we're out of the recession now, I see that people are reluctant to make decisions in silos. People bring more people into the mix to determine, okay, let's bring this person in for the next round. Let's select this person. So you've got more eyes on documents than maybe you would have. And so ATS or not, your resume needs to be that much more powerful because many people are looking at it versus just the one.
They've gone through a hard time, right? And they don't want to take risk.
No, right. They're more risk averse. Exactly.
HR uses ATS is it reduces the risk. Right. I didn't make that decision. Right now, the computer did.
That's right. That's a really good point. So what advice would you give someone who is looking to get started in job search or to job land? What did you call it again? Oh, I forgot the term now. Career land.
Career landers, right? They're going to land their career. They're searching is the terrible part of that. We want to focus on the positive, where they get where they want to be. And I think that's, you always have to have that end goal in sight to be able to get to it. So that's how I look at it. So your question was, again, I do apologize.
Oh, in terms of, no worries. In terms of, so someone is looking they're looking for a job. What advice do you give them to get started, given the complexities, the challenges with ATS and the way that the system's flooded?
Well, I think the first thing they've got to do is they really have to take inventory, right? Who they are, what do they want to do, what are their passions, what are their true skills? So they've got to know that. They've got to get that done. Obviously, they've got to get it into their marketing documents. The next thing is research. Don't just take that internet position that's out there and apply and think everything's going to work, right? You want to take that, you want to research it, you want to know about it, you want to see if you have anybody on the inside, right? You want to see, are you using all the right keywords? So you take a little bit more time, do the research, right, before you apply. The other thing is I always say organize a target list. Know who you're going after, right? Know why. You use some technology to track that target list, right? Like a Google alert, for press releases or, new hires or, those kind of things. That's going to give you a good signal process. Build your network in to those target companies. So who do you know in there, or who do you know who knows somebody in there, and build your network in. And one of the things that people forget often, majority of companies have a employee referral bonus. And if you actually think about it, if you work and network your way in, it's a question you should ask. Do you have one at your organization? They'll check. They usually find out, on average, it's somewhere between $500 to $1,000.
Yeah. They'll
spend a little extra time with you, right? They'll kind of craft and help you and give you the inside scoop so you can do better, because they'd like to have that extra bonus. When I worked for American Heart Association, they had $10,000 per employee you brought in. 5 when they were hired, 5 at the end of the year. You know what I did on my part time?
Well, yeah. In my spare time, I'd be looking for people. That's right. Buy yourself a car with that.
And, that kind of ruined the program over there. They actually reduced it after that. But I looked at that.
Took a zero off of that.
That's
do you have any sense for what percentage of companies that have referral bonuses? What percentage of hiring occurs through referrals with companies that have referral programs like that?
I know that I've seen stats out there that you are 5 times more likely to be hired if you have an internal referral. So that's the best stat I've got.
That sounds right.
I'm running into too many organizations that do not have some type of referral bonus. Mostly it's it's kind of cash bonus, but sometimes it's other things that you get with it.
Right.
I'm not running into too many that don't. So I would think the majority do, from what I know.
So, I think that sounds right. Well, I love your advice. Take inventory, do your research, organize a list, and use technology to your advantage to track it. I never thought about using a Google alert for the companies. That makes so much sense.
The other component of that is get out front, right? And make sure in social media, in the public presence, whether it's giving a lecture or whatever, you become the knowledge expert, right? Build that brand. Right. And then remember, gratitude and reciprocity, because you've got to do it and it pays back, tenfold. And so I think if you get all those pieces rolling, you now have a strategy, to become a career lander.
With regards to the social media, you mentioned that you help people with LinkedIn and Twitter. Are those, I guess it depends on the industry, but are those the 2 places where you feel like people can have the biggest bang for their buck in terms of positioning themselves as subject matter experts?
I would say in a general business category, yes. If you're a photographer, probably not.
Maybe that'd be Instagram.
Yes, those are the 2 cores. I do have people that if somebody wants to, learn how to do, something for Instagram or something along that line, I've got people I can refer them to. That's not my expertise. I really focus on those 2 because I understand how they work together and how they can support each other and how you can build a very, very accomplished brand out there based on them.
Do people fundamentally engage differently with Twitter and LinkedIn, or can you sort of use the same tactics to have success with both?
I think you can use the same tactics, and including the fact that you can actually post and make your post LinkedIn and Twitter. If you take that approach, you can then, really kind of reduce the amount of time you spend doing it. And if you position the pieces correctly, they can be used for both and be very effective and build a following on both sides.
Yeah. No, I agree. So I'm sure you get people that have jumped into the job search waters without doing the things on your list. What advice do you give them to when they're not having success in terms of going back and figuring out what's wrong?
It always makes me think about Einstein's theory of insanity, right? Doing the same
over and over
every day, expecting a different result. If you're in that mode, if you've been career searching, pardon me, and you're not getting there, then you've got to decide you're in the insanity loop. Something isn't working. And so you got to really kind of go back through that process. And again, take your inventory, know what your personal values are, know your passion, what do you do and what do you not want to do? Who do you know? Who knows who? And, start getting those inventories put together so you know kind of how to go forward. And then you got to prepare your marketing plan. You got to have your marketing documents ready to go. Don't wait for the perfect opportunity and then try to rush the process.
Scramble.
It doesn't work. The other piece of that is know how to present yourself. When they say, tell me about yourself, whether it's a networking opportunity or it's an interview, to me, that I always call that your digital handshake, right? The time it takes you to shake somebody's hand, you should be able to tell them exactly what you can do for them, whether they're a person or an organization, right? You should be able to deliver the time it takes to do a handshake. If you are still talking and still holding onto their hand, it's now got into the creepy range, right? They don't want you to go.
So make it brief.
Yeah, it's that digital handshake. And so you've got to get those things prepared, and you got to know what they are, know what your values are, and be able to deliver them, I think, in that right amount of time at the right time.
I like that. What about people that, so we tackled new job seekers, we tackled people that are in it and it's not going well. What about people that can go in so many different directions? And I get these all the time where they say, well, I could do this, or I could do that, or I could do the other. And how do you recommend that they present themselves?
And usually they only tell you
their marketing
through the production of their marketing done.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
One day they're
like, I thought you wanted to target this. This is totally different. Yeah. Yeah.
I looked at it, it's great to be multifaceted, right? To have the opportunity and the chance, and you've proven yourself to be able to do all these different things. But the message, it's that back to, if you try to please everybody, you'll please nobody, right? You really got to define, again, taking that inventory, what is important to you? What can you really do well? And really start tuning it in. If you go to that Jack and Jill of all trades, right, approach, nobody's really going to find you that useful. And it's a hard thing to understand, because most of us throughout our careers, we caught every ball they threw at us, right? And we did very well. And we did things outside of the job description. That was normal, but it just doesn't present well, because you kind of look scattered. And so I always tell people, really define that, and define it with not just, what you've done, but what do you want to do? Where's the future taking you? What do you have the skill set, the experience to drive that forward? And think about that and set that direction as your brand.
I agree. And I feel like hiring managers think they want a specialist, but they're thrilled to have a generalist once they get you there. But if you position yourself as a generalist, they'll never,
They will never admit that. They expect it of you, they'll never admit it.
No, well, because we have tunnel vision when we are looking for somebody.
Yeah, very true.
You have your list of things that you think you need. No, that's a good point. I like that. Please everyone, you please no one. That is so true. So I get this question a lot. I just turned 50. What about age discrimination? What are your thoughts on addressing and tackling it? Does it exist? Does it not? And I guess I can go with too young and too old.
Yeah, and I absolutely agree. And I think it's not just age, it's all sorts of discrimination exists. And to me, there's three main categories of, perception, right? There is culture, and then there is coded. And all three of those can create these discriminations in that sense. And all of them, they're all surmountable. I always tell people, you've got to make a decision though. If an organization only wants people under 25, but you can get in there, how happy are you going to be? How successful are you going to be? Have they almost created their own filters that are to your advantage to a degree? I hope that makes sense. But I always tell people, if you're taking that and you're seeing that and you look at it and you go, I can get over this hurdle. You've got to then think about it. If that's the culture of the organization, you can get over the hurdle potentially, but do you want to be there in the long run, or will you be there in the long run because that's the way the company thinks?
Right.
So you have
to think about the filters the company puts in place and see if that's going to serve you well.
Yeah, the company didn't like gray hair. That's what I've got at 55. If they don't like gray hair, I'm not. I might be able to get in by dyeing my hair, right? Get in, but
don't let your roots out.
And then what are they going to do with me, right? It's the same thing. So sometimes you have to take it as a warning flag, right? But we don't always have that opportunity. Sometimes we've got to get to the next thing, and this is the right thing, and maybe we can change it. If it's in the sense of coded in, and believe it or not, companies are getting busted for this on a regular basis. I won't mention any names because they won't be happy with me, but there are, if you think about the average age of the individual that maintains the code for an applicant tracking system within an organization. You know what the age that might be?
No.
It's about 23 years old. Now,
really?
What does a 23-year-old want around the office?
Yeah, bunch of 25-year-olds, I imagine.
I was going to say 21-year-olds is what they want at the office. That makes you look up to them. They don't want anybody older. So believe it or not, they're putting in to the applicant tracking system filtering. This is what I call it a coded discrimination. They're filtering things like if AOL address or SBC global address, downgrade, right? There's a filter right there. If they use a punctuation mark and skip 2 spaces, that's called the typewriter trap, right?
Yeah.
The Pioneer trap. That's the typewriter trap. That eliminates because you learned a keyboard on a typewriter where in class they said, blah, 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 period.
Yeah, 2 spaces versus 1, yeah.
Yeah, and that became your habit. And so they're filtering based on that. That's that coded discrimination. And companies are getting busted all the time for that. And to me,
I did not know that.
Yeah.
You're right. And that is surmountable. But do you want to be in a place where that's happening?
True. But at the coded level, it's usually one individual, right? That's kind of gone rogue and just said, I don't want anybody over my age here, right? That's the coder who's inserted those. It's not the culture. And, it's not a perception of the individual. And so to me, that's the coded one. That's the easiest one to get over. If you take out, old school emails, right?
Yeah, get your Gmail and fix up your punctuation, right?
You adjust the punctuation process so it fits better. You look at the way the job is written, right? If you see in the job and it's written where, they don't use the comma before the word before and, right? Or after the word before and, then maybe take yours out. Match the culture. Those things are kind of easy to do. Perception, you can change perception. Normally, if it's this kind of age discrimination and the fact that it's older, right? There's 2 reasons for that. They think low energy, right? This person's just not going to be able to stay up with all of us, or they're thinking not the right skills.
Yeah, not adapting.
Right? Or they're thinking too expensive because you have time, right? And so those are 3 things you can take on those perceptions. In the way you present.
You're right.
Whether it's in social media or whether it's on the resume, you can take those on. If it's at the younger age, they're looking at the same thing. Well, I don't want anybody under 25. Millennials are, it's either they're all lazy or they're all this. You can change that perception and make it a reality that you don't fit in that, right? And so those things are very controllable. And I think age discrimination, yes, it exists. And yes, maybe it's a filter and a reason you don't want to be there. But if it is a reason, there is a reason you do want to be there. You definitely need to be there. And there's ways of changing that perception and getting in based on that. And it takes a little extra work, but it's definitely
right. Yeah, no, I love that. So what is one of my favorite questions? What are 1 or 2 tools that a career lander cannot be without during this journey? Because you've thrown out a lot of different options.
Humor and endless resiliency. To me, that's right.
Can you buy those at Walmart? Yeah.
You got to earn them.
Yeah.
I always look at, I think, you've got your cores and one is to invest in a professionally written, just rock solid ATS ready resume and then know how to use it. That's the first tool you've got to have. That's your core marketing document, right?
Yeah.
And then the next tool is you've got to nurture a positive kind of impact social media plan, right? To move you forward, to get the digital image forward. And, that's going to be, for me, I think it's LinkedIn and Twitter for the average business person. Those are the real tools that I think you have to have, you have to implement. And if you're uncomfortable doing it on your own or you're not getting the results you think you should, seek a professional.
Yeah.
I mean, I study applicant tracking systems every day. I'll spend an hour or 2. I've been doing this for years. Anybody can do it. You can go out and you can access there's over 300 ATSs right now. You can access trial memberships into almost all of them, and you can learn. But it might take you 6 months to get there. Then you can start your job search. Hire a professional, get there faster.
that they're doing, and they've already done the legwork, right? With regard to Twitter, I get this question, and because LinkedIn people get this is mostly professional, but Twitter, some people use it for personal reasons. And then if you want to use Twitter to boost a professional image, do you recommend they open a second account or clean up the kind of content that they're using?
Okay. Account. I might even suggest, if you're not real active on your personal one, kind of closing it up for a bit, close shop for a while, lock it up. You can bring it back later. But on your professional one, mirror everything over. Keep it a consistent image, the same picture, the same kind of digital handshake, right? Your introduction, combine those processes. So when they go out and do this social media, profile on you, right? They're coming up with consistent answers. Consistent,
right. And they're looking for that. So if you can be as consistent as possible across different social media platforms, that just lends to the credibility. No, I concur.
And I will mention too, it's incredible when you're on social media. If you participate and build community, you get rewarded. If you try to tear down the community, right? You're out there, you're saying terrible things, you're doing terrible things, those kind of things. It has that same impact, but the opposite way. And people really need to realize, they've got to clean it up. And, go back, look at it, lock down certain accounts. If you're Facebook, you have a lot of parties going on Facebook, close it down, make it not public. Start tightening up your image and making sure that your social profile out there is clean. Same thing, even on your internet browsing, clean out your cache, take out your cookies, go to different sites and say, you can't track me. Google is one, because they do take that stuff, they sell it, and now it is available for organizational consumption. They sell it to HR.
Oh,
Google has a great HR practice right now. And everything you do on the internet, whether you knew you did it or not, it becomes part of your profile. And
wow,
a short story. So let's say you're sitting and you've got a really great customer, right? And they like to drink whiskey. So you go out on the internet and you search and you find this great whiskey gift basket, right? And you send it to them. And you say, well, I'm going to send it to 10 other customers, right? So you purchase it. That's not part of your traffic, your perception of you. Next, you go to a site with fast cars, right? Do you like fast cars? Or maybe it's your son who's logged onto your home computer, right? And they're looking at all these fast cars. And then the next day you're out in the yard, you notice your neighbor looks a little pale while he's doing your yard work. You tell him to go sit down. You go back and research it and find out he might be having a stroke or heart problems, right? So you've spent half an hour on AHA. You get to the interview, right? It's between you and Jane, right? Or Bob. And they've bought into the Google HR package. And so they say, Jane and Bob, they've got a real clean history, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, church, blah, blah, blah. Virginia likes to drink hard liquor, drive fast cars, and she may be having a stroke. Who do you think they're going to pick, right?
Yeah.
So be aware of the negative impacts of your social media, clean them up. And the same thing with comments. If you're flaming people, they look at that, they see that. There are actually algorithms that go out and they just look for that stuff. They don't even bring back what it is. They just bring back a negativity rate and a positivity rate for you. So if you're on the negative side and I got to fit you into my culture and, you're at this, 85% negativity on the internet, how are you going to treat the rest of the team?
And big company I imagine it's the bigger companies that are buying these Google packages and the algorithm rankings, but as it gets cheaper, more and more people will buy it.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Behave online.
It gets even scarier, that Google actually owns the company that does all the DNA testing for Ancestry.com.
Ancestry.com? They do?
Yep, they do. And they are now including that in their HR profile for health risk. They don't give any information, but they say, just like the positive and negativity, you have a health risk. So if you have a history of heart attacks in your family, right? Or cancer. And you're a higher health risk than Bob and Jane who had none, right? And that's being sold. It's not health information, so it can be sold. And you gave them the right to collect it and use it when you joined Ancestry. So, if you're on sites like that, you got to go back to them and clean that up.
Check.
But now I'm telling you not to share it.
Yeah.
And that's what you do.
You're giving me food for thought. All right, last question. I will let you go today. I'm going to go to all of my, see what I've agreed to and not agreed to. Just did the ancestry.com thing. That's what makes me think about it. What is next?
Half an hour on just what they learn about you on the internet that you have no idea that they're taking into consideration.
Please tell me my next question was going to be what's next for you. Please tell me you're writing a book about all of this.
I'm not there yet. But
okay.
I can tell you I love what I do. I'm very passionate about it, and I want to continue to do it. I actually work with my wife, who's a 25-year writer, both on the technical side and on the marketing document side. And we work together as a team, and we love it. And it really came about because I was working for American Heart Association. I took them international into 140 countries, built their offices in Hong Kong, in Belgium, in Puerto Rico, in the United Arab Emirates, hired everybody. I was on the road 85% of the month, coming home one weekend a month and on the opposite side of the clock.
Wow.
And I was burning out. I loved it. Great mission. But I was burning out. And I said, you know what? I need to stop this. Let's do something together that we enjoy. And believe it or not, I've been doing LinkedIn profiles and presentations on LinkedIn for groups in transition since 2005. And so let's pull these skill sets together and create something that we can do together that gives us the flexibility. And in a digital world, normally I'm in Dallas today, I'm in Houston. Next week I might be in Puerto Rico or,
right.
Internet connectivity everywhere. Doesn't matter where I am. And it gives me a better life. And again, that's about taking inventory, right? And figuring out your passions, your skills.
And what your skills, right?
To where you want to be. So this is my career landed. And it's what I enjoy and it's what I will continue to do.
Oh, that is wonderful. Well, if you change your mind and you want to write a book on what the heck is going on with job search, that would be ideal as well.
Kevin, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining me. I've learned quite a bit.
Thank you. It's
a delight. My pleasure. All right. We will talk soon.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to Resume Storyteller with Virginia Franco. To learn more about storytelling strategies to catch the eye of today's SCIM online readers, hiring and decision makers, go to www.virginiafrancoresumes.com.